Welcome. David Icke has made many definitive statements about global warming. The purpose of this video is to look at some of them and see whether they are factual or, as some claim, nonsense. If you search YouTube for videos by David Icke on global warming, you'll get over 225,000 hits. Many of these are the same video posted over and over again. But quantity does not mean the same thing as quality. So let's see how much they contribute to the global warming debate. In 2011, he claimed that global warming does not exist, and then proceeded to produce a series of quotes by others and himself that purportedly showed that this was the case. For example, "It is the scientific fact that the sun is the main driver of Earth's climate. The sun has been becoming hotter, brighter, and increasing thermal output in the last 100 years. It, the sun, is causing warming not just on Earth but throughout the solar system. The moons of Saturn and Jupiter are melting. They were ice and now are liquid seas. The Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine announced that over 31,000 scientists have signed a petition rejecting the theory of global warming. It's the bloody sun. When it is in an active phase, it gets warmer, and when it is in an inactive phase, it gets cooler. The sun has been in an inactive phase for the last 10 years, which is why it has been getting cooler year by year." Let's take a look at each one of those statements in turn and see whether they are true or false. We'll start with, "It is a scientific fact that the sun is the main driver of the Earth's climate." That is fundamentally true if and only if the sun changes by enough to change the Earth's climate in a significant way. But he's implying that any changes in the Earth's climate is therefore due to the sun. But then he concludes that as the Earth's climate is changing, then it is the sun that is responsible. And that is completely false. There are many other factors that can change the Earth's climate, like the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. The amount of snow and ice, i.e. the Earth's albedo, can also affect climate. Our distance from the sun can change the Earth's climate. In order to prove that the sun is responsible, you'd have to show that the sun is changed by the right amount to explain the amount of warming that we're seeing here on the surface of the Earth, and that the change has been in the right direction. So if you're looking for the Earth to be warming, solar activity better be increasing. And thirdly, it must be on the same time scale, i.e. that the solar activity started to increase at about the same time as the temperature started to increase. Now, Icke has not shown any of these things to be the case, so has no scientific argument to support his assertions. But we can measure whether the sun has increased its output, as Icke has claimed. But we find that it hasn't. This is a plot of the total solar irradiance over the last 40 years. That's the amount of energy reaching the surface of the Earth. And as you can see, over those 40 years, there's been very little change, and if anything, that change has been slightly downwards. We can fit a line to the peaks of these 4 solar cycles and see that the trend is in fact downwards. You could do the same at the solar minima, and the trend is also downwards, but not quite so much. For solar output to explain global warming, the trend would have to look something like this, and it doesn't, of course. So that eliminates that particular possibility. We can go back even further by looking at sunspot activity over the last 60 years or so, and the peak of solar activity was back in 1957. Since then, the overall solar activity has dropped at the very time when global warming was increasing. So this is exactly the wrong direction for the global warming to be explained by the sun. So now let's take a look at another one of the statements. The sun has been causing warming not just of the Earth but throughout the solar system. Well, I've already dealt with this in a series of 3 videos that I did some years ago called What Makes You Think the Solar System is Warming Up. The 3 videos comprise an introduction of the scientific principles that are involved in this. The second video deals with the inner solar system, Mercury, Venus, the Moon and Mars. And the third part deals with the gas giants in the outer part of the solar system. And I have links to those videos listed below. They're also available on my homepage under one of my watch lists. But in those videos I demonstrate the following. Claims that any of the planets are warming due to the sun are false. Some claims are based on deliberate misinterpretation of published studies. Other changes are merely seasonal, and that new observations do not mean anything has changed or has nothing to do with global warming. The next statement is, do 31,000 scientists reject the anthropogenic global warming theory? I have dealt with this in my video, 30,000 scientists cannot be all wrong, can they? And again, I have the link to that video to the right here. In that video, I conclude that the Oracle petition itself is a fraud. It was justified by a paper that was alleged to have been published by the National Academy of Sciences, and in fact was not. In fact, it was published nowhere. It does not actually reject the anthropogenic global warming theory. It just says that it won't be catastrophic, and they don't define what catastrophic means. Most of the people listed as scientists are nothing of the sort. Of the 9,000 with PhDs, only 39 claimed to have any qualifications in climatology. And here I stress the point that it's claimed. There was no checking of whether these people's credentials were in fact correct. The last statement to check is, it is getting cooler year by year. Below is a graph of the annual global temperature anomaly for the month of June over the last 20 years. And as you can see, there's a steady rise in the temperature at a rate of about 0.2 degrees centigrade per decade, which is quite fast. Now, let's take a look at where the warmest years were. The warmest year on record so far was 2015. The second warmest was 2014. The third warmest was 2010. The fourth warmest was 2012. The fifth warmest was 2005. The sixth warmest was 2009, tied with 1998. So it seems that since 2010 we've had all four of the warmest years on record. And 2016 is already shaping up to be the warmest year on record. So we'll have had 5 by the end of this year, which is absolutely amazing. And the chances of that happening at random are about the same as you winning the lottery 2 or 3 times in a row. So what can we conclude from all of this? Well, we found out that Ike has no formal training as a scientist, and that's pretty obvious from some of the things he says. He was a professional footballer, he became a TV personality and a writer. Those are hardly qualifications to judge the complicated subject of climatology. He is an excellent conspiracy theorist. He believes in all sorts of strange things. Many humans are reptiles in disguise. That's mainly the top 1%, and in some sense I agree with him there. They're controlled by pan-dimensional beings. Therefore the Earth is a prison planet, and these aliens create and feed off of our anxieties. He opposes most religions, the UN, New World Order, the International Monetary Fund, and the London School of Economics, for no particular reason as far as I can see. So either he doesn't believe any of this stuff and is just making money off of gullible people, or one might conclude he's acting rather like a nut. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye for now.